Today we're reviewing the Howa Superlite. This one's chambered in 308 Winchester, and ever since I saw the advertisement of this rifle in the magazines, I was like, I need to get me one of those. And so here we are, we've got one sitting here. Basically, I really was drawn to how light it was. Lightest factory offering on the market at the moment at an advertised 2.01 kilograms. Now, weighing this one as it arrived with the Picatinny rail, magazine, everything on it, without the scope, without any mounts, just as it came from the box, it weighed 2.07. So 60 grams heavier than advertised. That could be just in the fill of the stock. Maybe they didn't weigh it with maybe the magazine and the Picatinny rail. So maybe if you remove those items, it would be very close to advertised weight. Regardless of that, comparing it to other rifles, it's, you know, you're looking at half a kilo plus lighter than anything else really out there. Apart from maybe some of you really like Kimbers. But price point wise, this is retailing for what a standard rifle is worth these days, especially in Australia. You don't really get much for your money under $1,000 these days, brand new. These things are in that $1,500 bracket, which is the same as your Tikka and your Brownies and all the rest of it. So price point wise, for especially how light it is, I think is really sharp. You can spend a lot more money on another rifle brand that will not be as light as this rifle. So it's got that crown. It is the lightest factory rifle offering, definitely in Australia. I'm thinking worldwide. I know your Kimbers come in pretty close, but these have still got the Kimbers. Yeah, so I have removed the factory Picatinny rail and I've replaced them with one-piece tally lightweight rings. I love these style rings. I've got them on all my hunting rifles. They're very simple, they're super light and nice and strong. I've got them in the low, in the 25mm, because I'm running a 2.5 to 8x36 Leopold with a CDS dial. So it's only got a 36mm objective, which you can see there. It's got a nice sort of gap there, but nothing too big, which allows you to get your head down nice and low on the stock. Advertised weight was 2.01. Mine came in at 2.07, but with this scope and mounts, we're running right around that 2.5 kilo bracket, ready to roll. So it is super lightweight. Let's go over the features of Howa Superlite to see how Howa have shaved at least half a kilo's off what would be normally a standard weight rifle. So first off, carbon fibre stock. It's less than 500 grams on its own. Amazingly light. It comes with a limb saver recoil pad still, but it is a very slimline one. Quite surprisingly, it is really soft to touch still, quite effective. They've shaved a heap of weight by using a plastic trigger guard assembly and also using a polymer 3-shot detachable magazine. Now the action, they've shaved weight out of the action. Its length is somewhere between a mini action and a short action. So it's its own unique length. They've shaved a heap of weight off this bolt, and by removing the center of the bolt knob, so hollowing out the bolt knob, they've lost a lot of weight there as well. 20-inch slimline steel barrel, muzzle thread with protector, 1/2 inch by 28 thread. 90-degree bolt throw. It has a 3-position safety. All the way back is trigger lockout and bolt locked. One forward, we're still locked out on the trigger, but we can manipulate the bolt. All the way forward is fire. We have the bolt release button on this side, which is quite simple to operate. Now we have a very simple bolt, 2 locking lugs with an M16 extractor and a plunger ejector. They have shaved a lot of weight off this bolt. I think that's where they've lost a lot of their weight. It's toolless to operation to remove the firing pin. All you have to do is sort of grab it at the back of the bolt assembly there and twist, and she just pops out. Quite simple. It's great to be able to clean it. It's got a little keyway, you just line that back up. Takes a little bit of effort, and there's a little notch. It just clicks back in, so she's good to go again. It has a 2-stage hack trigger. Came from the factory just under 3 pounds. 2 pounds 15 ounces is what it was averaging on my trigger scale. So they're the features of the rifle. So let's get to the fun part. Let's go down to the paddock and send some rounds down the barrel. Rightio, I'm just down the paddock and we're getting ready to shoot this little Howa. I did sight it in the other afternoon, but it got a bit windy and it was like 38 degrees or something, so the barrel was getting really hot really quick. It's been hot today too. It was 34 or 35, but it's late in the evening now and there's a little bit of a cooler breeze, but it's still probably hovering around that 30 degree mark. So what we're going to have to do is just take it steady. I'll do 3 shots in a row, but then I'll pop it in the car with the aircon on just to let it cool down a little bit quicker before we change to the next ammo. So I'll do 3-shot groups at 100 yards. I'm going to go prone onto the ground. I'm going to go with the ballistic silver tips to start with. I think they're a 150 grainer. We'll give them a go, 3 shots, and then we'll let it cool down. So let's see how we go. Yeah, 150 nozzle ballistic tip with the black coating. Obviously got the nickel case. And now, just remember, this is an 8-power scope. So I've got about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches diamond up there to aim at. And looking at the scope, I'm only really just crisscrossing it. So it's not exactly precise aiming. Alright, that was definitely in the black, that one. It's got a bit of recoil, this thing. Now I know if you haven't watched my channel before, you might not know, but I'm used to big guns. I was shooting a 3-throughout Lapua in a Fierce Carbon Fury. And I was shooting that unbraked regularly. I'm not saying the recoil is anything like that, but it is quite sharp. You know, and I noticed off the bench the other day when I was sighting it in, I only had 9 shots off the bench, and I really didn't want to shoot it much more than that. So this is the ballistic silver tip. Now, I'm betting on, yeah, that's over 1 inch, but not by much. Centre to centre, so outside edge, yeah, so 31 mil, 1.25 inches basically. So not MOA, but certainly by no means a terrible group. Pretty happy with that actually. Don't worry about point of impact. I haven't sighted in for this ammo, and the ammo I did sight in for it was quite windy, so I'll see what sort of group's the best, and if I'm happy with that bullet to go hunting with it, I'll re-zero it. But that was the ballistic silver tip 150 grain and the Winchester. So 1.25 inch group, not too shabby. Now I know a lot of people are saying, oh, I should be getting MOA. Well, I believe MOA guarantee is it will shoot inch or better over subsequent groups, not that it'll only ever shoot one MOA or smaller. So you've got to be a little bit realistic. A lot of people can't shoot MOA. So I'm still getting used to this rifle, and I'm shooting factory ammo, which I never use. So I can't exactly customize the ammunition to the rifle. So I've just got to keep trying different brands to try and find what it likes. I'm going to say it actually likes these, even though it's not a tiny group. There's 2 in together and 1 out. Now I'd have to watch on the replay which is the 1 out, whether it was 1, 2 and this practically touching and then 1 out. If that's the case and it does that regularly, it could be just that little pencil barrel sort of just heating up a little bit. Yeah, but anyway, we'll write this one up as the ballistic 150 and we'll swap the target out and we'll go to another ammo. Alright, the next one we're going to try is the Hornady Super Performance 165 grain SST. This is basically, I think, doing the same velocity as the 150s and the other sort of ammo. So it's quite quick for a 165 grainer. It's calling for 2840, but that will be from a 24-inch barrel. This is only 20, so we're going to lose around about 100 feet a second, so 2740 or thereabouts. So these might have a little bit of kick to them, but barrel is back to ambient temperature, so we're going to give it every chance. It's got to group these. I brought a couple of packets of these because I really wanted it to shoot them. So let's see how she performs at 100. I feel like I'm shooting pretty good. I would love to have a little bit more magnification, but seems silly on a gun like this. They all felt like alright squeezes. That second one did feel a little bit like it broke on the left side of the target. I've still got a little bit of wobble, but I don't think I can get any more stable. So I don't know if I'm seeing a pattern yet. These are the Super Performance 165 grain. I know that was my last shot because it definitely wasn't there. I couldn't quite see those ones, but I definitely saw that one. Have I got a pattern of a 2-shot sort of a rifle, then throwing one out? Is the barrel getting that hot that I need to let it cool for the 3rd shot? But that's a 2.5-inch group right there. So the grids. Wow. It's closer to 3-inch, isn't it? Righto. Remington Core Locks next, 150 grainers. These are an old school bullet, aren't they? Great hunting bullet. Shot a few deer with these myself back in the day. Them and the Winchester PowerPoint, which I haven't been able to get any in this calibre. An old school bullet. Nothing fancy, but just does its thing. Once again, barrel's back to ambient. Still quite warm, sweating a bit. Let's see how these go. See if we get 3 in together. It'd be nice. I've got no idea where these bullets are going. This 8-power scope, I cannot pick up where they're going. So they're feeling like good squeezes though. Feels comfortable. Righto, let's go and have a look at those ones. Yeah, righto. Another 3-inch screw. Nice triangle. Yeah, that's no good. They all felt good too. Remington cord lock, no. Ballistic tip's the only one that showed any promise so far. Well, the SST put 2 in together, but it was still close to a 3-inch group. But anyway, what have we got here? Yeah, right on 3 inches. Disappointing. Alright, we'll continue on with the next demo. Rightio, so on to the next one. So we've got some Deer Season XP 150 grain. These are like a rapid, massive impact, accurate, rapid expansion. Got a massive polymer tip on them. So I'm guessing they're a big open point underneath that. So it wouldn't be my preferred choice for sambar deer. Probably smack a fallow pretty hard, or a little hog deer or something. Righto, let's give these Winchester XPs everything we've got. I feel like I'm shooting well, so I don't think it's me. I think it's just the rifle doesn't like when I'm feeding it, which is an issue with factories if I can't find something that it really likes, especially with the primer shortage we got. Felt like a good shot too. Well, I think the first 2 are in the black. Couldn't tell with the third one. No, we're going to have a look. DC is an XP, 2 in the black. And I drop 1 down low. Definitely 1, 2 in the black. That was definitely my last shot. It felt good, so it is what it is. I think that's somewhere around about 2-inch group, maybe a little bit bigger. Just a touch under, 1/8 under really. Anyway, can't get that MOA just yet, but got a little bit of a 2 and 1 going on, hasn't it? What I might do after I've done the 3 shot groups through all the ammo, I might come back and do either a real slow 3 shots or 2 and let it rest and then go 1 again. Maybe it's just that pencil barrel heating up and just walking that little bit, but anyway, we've got a couple of other ammos to try. American whitetail. No. 165 grain interlock. So I'm guessing it's a Hornady interlock because it's Hornady ammo. 2700 feet per second. It's 165, so a little bit heavier than most of the other stuff, apart from the SSTs. See how this goes. Doesn't feel overly hot. Not enough to cook around. Poor old cows. They just want to drink. Sorry guys. Really only got one more ammo to try, and that's some Norma. That's the American Whitetail 165 grain interlock. One thing is the groups are triangle. This tells me the rifle's trying. But yeah, they're big groups, so it's not loving it. I'm feeling like I'm shooting good enough. I really should have brought down a control rifle and just had a couple of shots in between just to make sure that I'm doing my bit, but I feel like I am. I'm confident I am. No, I didn't like that ammo either. That's at least 2.5, maybe 3 inches. Alright, so the last factory round I've got to test with me is these Norma soft point 150 grainers. Yeah, we'll see what she does with this ammo. So I have removed sling swivel studs from the start just to make sure that that's not hanging up on the bag or anything like that. Feel like I'm shooting good. Nothing's sort of loose. Anyway, it is what it is. We'll go with these Normas. Let's see what happens. Practically no wind. You can see the dust just floating off. There's nothing to blame here today. I've got no heat mirage. Now there might be a few out there saying, "Oh, you got to give it time in between shots." Maybe I do, but I find I shoot better groups if I can stay in the gun and not come out. You know, if I cool the barrel down between each shot and all the rest of it, it's really going to be 3 one-shot groups. Whereas if I stay in the gun and fire 3, I feel like I can group better. That's why I'm doing it that way. I'm doing 3. That's what the magazine holds. I'm not doing 5. It's not a varmint gun. I'm only doing 1 3-shot group of each ammo, so there's definitely room to find a better average. But if this ammo is going to group 2, 2.5, 3 inches every now and again, then I don't really want to be hunting with it. That ballistic tip stuff that was 1.25 inch group, that first group, you know, if I did another 2 3-shot groups and it was something similar to that, I'd be totally happy with that. But if it's going to shoot 2.5 inch group one day, or one group, and then the next group's going to shoot 1.5 inch, and then maybe, you know, closer to 1 inch, it's certainly not consistent enough for me to consider it as an ammo to hunt with. So we'll do the same thing and run down there, and I might just try that ballistic tip stuff again. Righto, so that was the Norma 150 grain soft point. I couldn't tell the order of those bullets or those impacts, so I don't know if that was first two and then one out again. I'll have to go back and play the footage. But yeah, that's another big group, so a bit disappointing really. Alright, while I've still got a bit of light, I'm going to run those ballistic tips through it again. Righto, I'll chuck 3 more ballistic tips down range, just to see if we've got, there was an 1.25 inch group just under that first group of the day. Everything else has been fairly average. So let's just see if we can get another group and see if it's consistent with this ammo. Oh, it was just a fluke of the day. A slightly different target down there now. So I've only got a 3/4 inch dot to aim at. Just going to have one dry fire. Bottom left target I'm going to aim at. Can short stroke this sometimes, so done a couple of times today. Two look together. I can't see the third one. Run down and have a look. Yeah, rightio. So it's obviously consistent. I don't think that's a smaller group as the original one, but it's the second best group of the day, and it's so the 2 best groups of the day with that same ballistic tip ammo. So the gun seems to like it better than anything else by a long shot. But just before the sun dips away, I'm going to jump back on those SSTs because they did put 2 together, and so did that XP stuff. Maybe if I get time I'll run another group of each. So we'll just go there and there if I get time. They all sound really good. So I just threw 3 SSTs through it again. 2 and 1. So that was the original 3-shot group with SSTs. Very similar style. Obviously that's a better group. And that was the original Nosler ballistic tip, which you can see is shooting awesome point of impact, practically the same, yeah, similar size groups. So I don't know, what do you reckon? Definitely the ballistic tip seemed to be the best grouping. I'll have to go back and watch the video to see what order these 2 and 1 out groups are doing, whether they're doing 2 together and then 1 out, or is it, you know, all over the joint. If it's sort of 2 in and 1 out, I might just give it a little bit more time next time in between shots, just to try and eliminate that barrel heat up, because it is a very thin barrel. It's not a shocker, acceptable, better, not sub MOA though. Rightio, so I know it's just sitting here and you probably all think, yeah, it's light and it's short and all the rest of it, but just for a comparison, I've got my Winchester Model 70 here. Now this is a custom rifle with 26-inch barrel and a Macmillan Game Hunter stock, but you can clearly see there's some major differences in its size. This rifle ready to carry is about 4.2 kilos, 2.5 kilos. So when you're looking for a mountain rifle, weight matters. This thing shoots lights out, way out to, you know, well past sort of ethical hunting ranges, no dramas at all. But it does have a lot of characteristics of a target rifle. You know, your big vertical grip, high, cheap Monte Carlo sort of style stock, very flat fore end, 26-inch barrel. So you suffer a big weight penalty to get that accuracy. What I've found with the little Howa is even though it isn't as accurate as a custom rifle, it is still plenty accurate for hunting and hunting ranges. I'm confidently saying that this is around your 1.25 MOA rifle with factory ammo, but it is a little bit fussy with what it likes to shoot. I couldn't help myself, I had to try and get better. So I started reloading, got onto some 165 grain ballistic tips, and I actually did a very short, not a very thorough load workup with it. I tried about 3 or 4 different powder charges, settled at 1, and then I tried 3 seating depths just from max mag length, pushing back in 4 thou at a time. And I did find a load that were actually grouped under MOA. So we've got some targets here which show those groups. So that one's a 0.889 inch group, just over 1 inch group, so 1.03, and another one 0.787 inch group. So there were 3 subsequent groups, allowing the barrel to cool in between each group, but they were 3-shot groups without coming off the gun. So bang, bang, bang. Yes, this is a super thin barrel and it does tend to heat up, but it does manage to handle 3 shots consecutive before it does get quite warm. 5-shot groups in this thing, I think you're going to start to walk around. But that just shows you the potential this rifle has, especially if you're a hand loader. I think if you spend the time with this rifle, it is actually quite an accurate little rifle for the weight of it. Now, it's quite difficult to hold steady. I'm only using an 8-power scope, so at 100 yards, I'm having to aim at, you know, quite a big square to see my crosshair intersecting it. So if you aim at a big dot, your group sizes are going to be bigger. Now, if you've got a high magnification scope where you can aim at a small dot, aim small, miss small is the go. But with this 8-power scope at 100 yards, it is capable of MOA. So just to continue on from that, let's say this rifle is shooting over MOA, somewhere between, you know, 1.25, 1.5 MOA. A lot of people mightn't be happy with that. But what I want to reiterate is this rifle is somewhere in that bracket with factory ammunition. It's shot some really close to MOA groups with factory ammo, but it hasn't done it. It's generally in that 1.25 inch to 1.5 inch bracket, 3 shots consecutive. With that factory ammo, once I had it sighted in, I had it 2 inches high at 100, which was working out to be about spot on at 200 yards. with the CDS, I did the calculations on my shooter app. I went out to 306 yards and dialed the scope to what the app was telling me to dial. Aimed, I have a 12-inch by 12-inch steel gong. First round impacts every day. There is not a deer on this planet that's going to get away from this rifle because it's not shooting MOA or better. It's a 308 with a 20-inch barrel. Let's face it, it's a 300, 350 yard and in gun. It is more than capable of the accuracy you need for those distances on standard size animals. Now, if we're going to be talking about shooting tiny little groups, this is not the rifle that I would buy to do that. I'm not saying it won't do it. If you did a full load workup, I'm sure this rifle is capable of less than MOA, as I've shown you with the very short load workup I've done with it already. Primer's been such a priority these days. I didn't do the full workup and was just looking to see if it would do the MOA or better. Yes, it will. So I've got a mate that's got one of these rifles and his is shooting MOA with factory ammo. So it's a very rifle specific thing. I could tell you that it likes the Winchester 150 Nosler ballistic silver tips. You could go and buy 10 of these rifles and 3 of them might like that same ammo, or none of them might like that same ammo. It is really specific. If you can hand load, you can tailor your loads to the rifle, and that is the beauty of hand loading. Going back, is this rifle accurate enough with factory ammunition? 100% it is. I've got a couple of boxes of the Hornady Super Performance 165 grain. That was shooting around about 1.5 inches, a little bit better every now and again, but sort of averaging that 1.5 inches. I haven't managed to miss my gong at 300 yards with it yet, with a cold bore first round impact. So hunting wise, hunting accuracy, this has got it. If you want to shoot small groups or small targets at very long distance, this is not your rifle. This is a rifle that is easy to carry. It is really well balanced. I've found it, even though it's super lightweight, it still balances in this point where all rifles tend to balance when they're set up really well. It's just forward of that action screw. It holds really well there. The stock ergonomics, even though I'm 6'4", yes, it is short on length of pull, but with this nice Leopold with a long eye relief, I haven't found any trouble shooting this rifle. Prone, standing up, or bipods or anything like that, it tends to fit quite well. Bit of smoke around this morning. Obviously doing a fuel reduction burn. Boys are getting a bit of overtime in. It's Easter long weekend. So anyway, I've got the big camera trained in on the steel target. It's about 12 inches square. Just got some factory ammo in here, and I'm just going to show you how capable it is just offhand, and then we'll stretch its legs out a little bit as well. So pressure's on me now. Obviously, if you don't hear a big ding, I've missed. The gun does it pretty easy. So That's 3 offhand shots at 100 yards. 3 impacts. I can see where one went. One was just slightly high of centre, so anyway, she performs pretty well in the field. That white square is about 4 inches, so you can see my 3-shot group is practically centred and around about 4 inches. So an offhand 3-shot group at 100 yards, 4 inches, pretty happy with that. Just proves that the ergonomics and the handling of that rifle are really quite good. So now let's stretch its legs and we'll see if we can ring it from a bit of a distance. We're at 306 yards, so I've dialed up the scope according to the app. There's the slightest breeze, but I'm not going to allow for it, so we'll just send one and get it on plate, eh? There we go. Easy as that. I have got one of my hand loads, so it's a 165 grain ballistic silver tip. It's, I don't know, I haven't done any velocity on it, but I think I've got it in the app at about 2700 or thereabouts. So it's called for 2.9 MOA from a 200 yard zero. So that's as close to 3 as we need to be. Dead deer every time. It's not the most accurate rifle I own, but it's well and truly accurate enough to get the job done at the distances that this rifle is really designed for. So I'm super pleased with it. I love carrying it. I actually really like shooting it. Yeah, so if you're in the market for a really lightweight rifle, you won't go wrong with this little Superlite. Righto, just down here at the gong to check on those impacts. I shot one factory SST and one of my hand loads. We got 2 impacts, one in the centre square there and one just off to the left, but nice height. So that's pretty awesome. 306 yards, pretty rough rest over the bonnet, but that just gives me heaps of confidence out to that distance. We go through a couple of points that are quite important with this rifle in particular, and it revolves around this plastic trigger assembly. With the action screw torque settings, when you go through the manual that comes with the rifle, it's not very specific. It actually mentions that you should tighten the screw until it is snug and then go ahead and make it firm. So they're not settings that I can punch into my digital torque wrench here. So I did contact them and they came back with tighten the screw until it takes up and then go 1/4 of a turn more. And then to use a medium strength Loctite on the screws as well. So what I found putting my torque wrench onto live, about 1/4 of a turn past where it sort of stops, is somewhere around that 25 inch-pounds. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a plastic trigger assembly, and if you go and over tighten it, I can guarantee you are going to split the trigger assembly where the action screws go through it. It is plastic, it cannot handle a lot of torque. So the idea of the medium strength Loctite is just because you're not putting that high torque value on those action screws, the Loctite is going to prevent it from rattling loose. Now I've had it like that, so I think I'm well over 100 shots down the barrel on this rifle now, and I haven't had the action screws come undone. So it is working. Is it ideal? Probably not, but it's something to be mindful of. With my custom Model 70 here, which is pillar bedded, it's got a steel trigger assembly. I torque it down to 55 inch-pounds. So it's a little bit of a difference. So who do I see buying this rifle? If you're into backcountry, hiking in, rugged terrain where every ounce counts, this rifle is going to be right at the top of your list. If you are into hunting at normal hunting ranges, what's normal? That's a line in the sand I don't really want to draw, but this rifle in 308 caliber, 20-inch barrel, is well and truly capable to 350 yards on deer size game. So if your hunting requires you to shoot further than that, don't really think this is the rifle for you. From there and in, this is ideal, especially if weight is a massive consideration. Now, because of its compactness and its lightweight, it does tend to suit a youth hunter or even women. But just be mindful, because it is lightweight, and even though it's only 308, it does kick a bit. So if I was going to put a beginner hunter or beginner shooter behind this rifle, I'd invest in a muzzle brake. Maybe just a fully ported one, radial ported sort of jobby would be more than enough. It just needs a little bit taken out of it to be comfortable for a new shooter to enjoy shooting it. Or you could drop the weight or the velocity of your projectiles. Obviously with 308 you can get some subsonic stuff. If your kids are starting out shooting, some subsonics in this thing would be quite good. If you wanted full power loads, I would just go to a muzzle brake. Rightio, let's do a wrap up on the review of this Howa Superlite in 308. I've had it for about a month now. I've got over 100 rounds down the barrel. It's been on several hunts. I haven't managed to get a deer with it yet, but that will come. There's a ton of features that I love about the rifle. Obviously, overall, it's just the weight. It is ridiculously light and so easy to carry, but at the same time, so well balanced and just shootable. The ergonomics of it are really, really well thought out. It's had a heap of weight shaved off it, but not to the point where it feels like a toy. It still feels like a rifle, and it holds well, it feels well, it points really well, freehand. From a rest, it is, because it's so light, it does tend to have that natural little bit of a shake, but you can't get away from that at 2.5 kilos ready to shoot. So super impressed with it. I am loving the trigger. I've never really had a two-stage trigger, but this one, it breaks nice and crisp. There's no real noticeable over travel, and it came from the factory at just under 3 pounds. There are a couple of things on this rifle that could be better. Now, I would have preferred, and I would have suffered the weight penalty of an aluminium trigger assembly, which would allow you to have just a little bit more confidence in the action screws being a little bit tighter. Having said that, I haven't had any dramas with following the instructions from Howa to use a little bit of blue Loctite and just tension them up. to about that. I'm running about 25 inch-pounds. I'm sure if you just got in there and cranked it, you would split that plastic. So be very mindful of that when you do if you do end up buying one of these rifles. That is something to take time with. Another thing that I'd be mindful of, and it will probably come about through a longer term review, is the stock finish. It feels really good in your hand, but it does feel quite soft, and I just wonder if it will rub off over time. Righto, so I'm just going to wrap it up. My final thoughts on this rifle. I love it. I've got several rifles to choose from, but after handling this one for the last month practically, I find it really hard to pick up the other rifles now. They're just so much heavier. Now I know that there's benefits to those other rifles that this one just can't match, and especially for longer range shooting. It's not a big caliber, so I don't see it as much past 350 yards for a deer size game. Ethically, so the big 300 Win Mag, it's got the legs to get further out if you need to. But for carrying, strapped onto your pack, you just don't know it's there. So design brief, Howa, you've hit it out of the park. Superlite is exactly what this rifle is. If you mate it to a nice lightweight scope like all your Leopold VX3 range, like this is a 2.5 to 8, a 3.5 to 10 would be good on here as well. Maybe, a 4 to 12 if you need a little bit more magnification, but I think this scope combo with this rifle and caliber is ideal. It's going to be able to do everything I need it to do and more. So I can't wait to continue on with the review, long-term review, and you'll obviously see this in a lot of my videos coming up. Anyway, in the future I will get around to making a video of a full load workup reloading for this rifle, just to show you the full potential that it has if you can customize your ammunition to the rifle. Thanks to all my patrons that managed to get a hold of some primers for me so that I can do that. Fully appreciate all your effort, and you guys just went far and beyond anything that I expected, and I just fully appreciate all your support. There it is, Howa Superlite. If you're in the market, get into your local shop, get your hands on one. I guarantee you'll be surprised just how light it is. But if you put it in your cabinet, I reckon you'll struggle to pull any other rifle out when you're going for a walk.